Do you ever wonder why some Etsy listings get all the views and probably more sales because of it, while yours feels like crickets? Well, the difference might not actually be what you're making. It could simply be your photos. And today I'm sharing the exact 3 photos you need in every listing to help boost views and ultimately sales. And the best part, you can implement these right away, even with your cell phone camera. In case you're wondering, I'm Rebecca Icaskara, and I've been a full-time self-employed professional photographer for 14 years with a side-hustling Etsy pottery shop that has had a page 1 listing for over 2 years now. In this video, not only are we going to talk about what the 3 essential photos every Etsy listing needs are, but equally important, why they work so well, especially when it comes to how the Etsy algorithm works. Whether you make pottery, jewelry, artwork, or anything in between, these principles apply to all handmade items. Now, real quick before we dive in, what I'm sharing today presumes you already know a little bit about the foundations of how to take product photos at home. And in case that still feels new to you, don't worry. I have a free guide on exactly that, the Product Photography Foundations. You can download it at the description below this video. It'll help you implement everything we cover in this video, whether you use a cell phone or a regular camera. So be sure to grab that guide before we get going here. All right, the first crucial photo is what I call the hero shot. This is your product by itself, nothing else in the picture, against a clean, simple background, showing exactly what the customer is purchasing. Now, while you might not want to use this photo as your first image, which we'll get more on that later, it's still a crucial picture to have in every single listing. It should be evenly lit and show what you make from a straight-on angle. This is not the time to get creative with interesting lighting or unique techniques. We'll get to all of that. The hero shot is crucial so that when someone goes to check out, they see exactly the one item that they are purchasing. And they don't expect to get a spoon rest in the mail along with the utensil holder that they purchased. The hero shot is doubly important if you have listings that have variables to them, like options for different colors or sizes. We can talk more about the importance of having listings with variables in another video if you want. Feel free to leave a comment below this one and let me know. But for today's purpose, the reason you want a hero shot for any version of the art that you make is because on Etsy, you can link those photos to the variables that someone is choosing. For example, our giant mug listing ranks on the first page of Etsy's search for, well, perhaps obviously, giant mug. We have 3 custom glazes that my husband creates from scratch: blue, white, and what we've called sand. When you click on the variables in the listing, the photos change, showing potential customers exactly what they can expect to see when they open a box from us in the mail. Now, if you're already thinking about the issues you're facing in taking a simple hero shot, like funky lighting or the colors of your work looking weird in your pictures, don't worry. Click back on over to my first video here on YouTube, and about 3.5 minutes in, I talk about the angle of light, how to see it, and why it's crucial to getting your colors to look right. Or stay at this video and just download the foundation guides that I mentioned. It's free. The link is still at the top of the description of this video. And there is an entire chart in there that explains the angle of light. So moving on, the second essential photo that you need is the in-use shot, showing your product in action or in its natural habitat, if you will. This is where the magic for higher sales conversions happen, because it helps customers envision owning or using your item in their actual life. So yes, this photo makes for a great first image in your listing, because we want to engage people with what you're showing them, which helps the Etsy algorithm. Now, before I keep going, I know what you non-functional artists are already thinking. But my art isn't functional. How can I show it in use if there is not literally a use for it other than enjoyment and beauty? I promise you, my friends, you still can. Unless your work will live under a glass box in a museum, it will still exist in context somewhere. So I want you to ask yourself, where would this piece live in someone's home? What might be next to it? Include a simple prop that connects to the answer to those questions, and there is your in-use shot, even for non-functional work. In fact, I was just talking about this with a member of my community on our monthly photo Q&A calls. Tim, over at Half Blind Potter, makes sculptural wall hangings that can be enjoyed by people with all varying levels of sightedness. These are highly textural pieces, so we talked about the angle of light for him to use to best showcase those layers, but also how he could bring in a potted plant or a side table next to where he takes pictures of these large pieces, which is in his garage, in order to create a setting for someone to envision owning this piece in their home. For functional items like pottery, show that mug being held or used. For jewelry, show it being worn and then obviously disinfected afterwards, especially if it's earrings. Why is this so important? Because how many times has someone written to you asking how big what you're selling is? And you think to yourself, or let's be honest, you roll your eyes and text your studio bestie about how annoying it is that once again someone is asking when you clearly have the dimensions listed right there in the description on Etsy. Why don't people read? Well, here's the thing. What any of us actually want to know when we're wondering about the size is not necessarily the mathematically true size. Although that's important if you're buying a piece of furniture or a TV. But when we're talking about art, what is more important is the idea of, will this mug hold the obscene quantity of tea I drink on a daily basis? Will the handle fit 3 fingers or 4? These are questions of size that have nothing to do with measuring something with a ruler, and everything to do with how it will feel to use what you're selling. When someone can picture themselves using and enjoying your item, they're far more likely to purchase it. But remember, this doesn't have to be complicated. For our page 1 ranking giant mug listing, all I've done to capture the sense of scale with our giant mug is have Francesco hold it in his hands. You can do the same thing with just about any other item, even if it's not something you typically hold, like a vase or a sculpture. But please, remember, for the love of your wonderful work, don't do the awkward handhold thing, all right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's more on that in this video. Somewhere I'll post it to point out some alternative options. Now, the third essential photo is the detail shot. This is where you zoom in to showcase your craftsmanship, texture, details that make your handmade item special. These close-ups build trust by showing that you have nothing to hide and highlighting the quality that sets your work apart from mass-produced alternatives. Now for pottery, show the beautiful glazed details or a foot ring on the bottom, maybe a surprising detail. For jewelry, maybe you want to capture some intricate wire work that you've put tons of extra time into perfecting that nobody else does. For paintings, highlight those beautiful brushstrokes. Remember, online shoppers aren't seeing your item in person before they're buying. So these detail shots need to replace the experience they would have in person of picking up your work and inspecting all of the details. Now, I know I said there was only 3 essential photos, and we did just cover all 3, but if you stick around, here's a bonus. You know, since you downloaded that free product photography foundations guide that's in the description, and since you followed that guide, it's now going to be so much easier and faster to take these 3 essential photos. You've got a little extra time to get creative, right? Stick with me. I promise the tips in that foundation guide do actually save you time. So here's the bonus image, the cross sell. This is where you showcase another product from your shop that pairs perfectly with the item in the original listing. For example, at the beginning, I mentioned our ceramic utensil holder. I've created 2 different in-use shots for this piece to encourage potential buyers to think about the multiple ways that they can use this one item, which also helps sales. But then I go one step further and show it with our spoon rest next to it. The spoon rest is a separate purchased item. So remember, that's why the hero image is so important, because when someone checks out to purchase this utensil holder, they're going to see a photo just of the hero image, just of the utensil holder by itself. If someone is already spending $70 on a utensil holder, adding a $30 spoon rest probably isn't going to be that big of a deal. Other examples for cross-sells can be sets of things, like earrings with a matching necklace. Or it could be multiples of the same item, like a stack of bowls. Or if you're a printmaker, maybe it's showcasing a gallery wall of multiple prints of your art. It could be entirely different items, like a cereal bowl next to a mug. This works because you're making it easy for customers to, one, envision using what you're selling in their actual life, and two, subconsciously buy multiple items from you, all at the same time. A tried and true reality of any business out there is that it's easier to keep an existing customer than to try and find a new one. So the more you can encourage someone to purchase multiple things from you, instead of trying to find multiple people to buy one thing, the easier life as a small independent artisan business owner will be. The key is to make sure the cross-sell item complements but doesn't compete with your main product. You want it to feel like a natural addition to the image, not a distraction. Just remember to put the link to your second item in your listing description. Instead of them having to hunt through your entire shop to find matching pieces, you're serving up the perfect pairing right there in the listing and keeping them active on your shop longer, which also the Etsy algorithm likes. Now, all of these photos are exponentially easier and faster to take if you already have the right foundation set up for yourself. But don't worry, that foundation for great product photos doesn't need to involve a bunch of fancy equipment. Just click that link in the description that I've already mentioned to download your copy of the Product Photography Foundations Guide, and you'll see what I mean. This free guide will also help you plan your next photo session and make sure you're capturing all 3 essential images for every listing in as little time as possible. In the meantime, I've got a whole series planned for helping you create better Etsy listing photos, so be sure you've liked this video and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming up next. If you have a burning question about listing photos, then feel free to pop that into the comments now too. Until next time, my friends, go get back to making your dreams a reality, because together, we've got this.